Yeah, it was my time. All right, we'll call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for the Monday, August 4th, 2025 Credit River City Council meeting. I will begin with approving or amending the agenda. Is there any additions or changes to the agenda anybody would like to make?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull the development or developers agreement out of 7.2 would make that a separate agenda item for voting.
We just have two items in that same.
Yes, yeah.
Right, so we'll just add, so we're actually adding to the agenda item, the developers agreement for Yellowstone. Okay. Anybody else? Hearing no other, I'd take a motion to approve with the one change.
Second.
Thank you, Jay. Motion by Schomer, second by Sonnenbrock, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Sheriff's report, Deputy Strack, good evening.
Mayor, Council, the Sheriff's report. Again, we're back into 6 pages barely, but we are. Again, went through it, nothing major stands out. There was some hazards, bunch of traffic. The last page on the 7th page actually labels out for July. There's 44 traffic, 14 assist, 9 alarm calls, 9 animal calls, 8 suspicion calls, 8 accidents, 8 hazards, 7 medicals, 5 welfare checks, 4 thefts, and then 3 fraud calls. Any questions on the report?
Council, any questions for Deputy Strack? I don't think so, Chad.
That's it. You'll see me here tomorrow and I'll be here till parties are done.
Out and about 19 night?
Yep, there'll be 3 of us, so with the 6 or 7 parties, I think.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Be safe.
Thank you.
All right, moving to consent agenda. Those items on the council agenda which are considered routine and non-controversial are included as part of the consent agenda. Unless a council member specifically requests that an item on the consent agenda be removed and considered separately, items on the consent agenda are considered under one motion, a second, and a vote. Any item removed from consent agenda shall be placed at the end of general business. Tonight, on consent agenda 3.1, meeting minutes of the July 21st, 2025 City Council meeting. And 3.2, approval of payment of claims as presented. Is there anything else that council would like to remove from consent agenda tonight? If there's none, I take a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Abe.
I'll second.
Thank you, Leroy. Motion by Zanto, second by Schomer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Open forum. The public forum is intended to afford the public an opportunity to address concerns to the council. The public forum will be no longer than 30 minutes in length, and each presenter will have no more than 5 minutes to speak. Topics of discussion are restricted to local governmental topics rather than private or political agendas. The council may discuss but will not take formal action on public forum presentations. Tony, you probably aren't wanting to speak in open forum, are you? You're probably waiting for the agenda item on the trails, right? It's okay. So I've got a Mary Barnas. Parsons. Yes, if you don't mind coming to the podium, please state your name and address.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is Mary Bursness. I live at 18764 Hobby Hill Circle, Prior Lake. I have lived here for 40 years. I live on the end of 2 dead-end cul-de-sacs, gravel roads. I'm about, I guess it's going on over 2 weeks ago, I noticed that I got up and I smelled something really strong. And as I was driving out, I noticed all my plants along the road were dead. And I got out and I thought, what the heck? And I thought, did we have a rainstorm or whatever? But well, they weren't dead yet, but they're dying. They were wilted and everything. And so I thought, it's been sprayed. What's happened? So I called to find out who I should talk to. And I first talked to Leroy Schumer. And we had a discussion that didn't go very far. And he suggested I bring it here. So what I'm concerned about, that this seemed to be a very indiscriminate use of spraying. There is no traffic on my road. There's one house past me. So I know you want to keep your vegetation down for safety and visibility, but there is zero traffic, okay?
Well, excuse me, ma'am, who sprayed it?
The county, the city sprayed.
We did.
Okay,
You guys sprayed, and it was approximately, I'm just guessing, because I have planters down there that Mr. Schumer has told me are in the right of way, which that's this, need to discuss that also. Probably about $1,000 worth of stuff. But in addition, what was more alarming to me is I have been spending the last 5 years getting rid of invasive species on my land without chemicals. I use goats, get rid of buckthorn. I've been hand pulling garlic mustard. I put hundreds and hundreds of hours into this. And I've been seeing all these wonderful wildflowers coming back, and they got sprayed too. So they're gone. I have a bee lawn. I got one of those grants from Lawns to Legumes. So it seems a little counterproductive that I'm encouraging all these pollinators to come and then they get sprayed. Okay, and like I said, in 40 years, no one has ever sprayed before. So I think it was unnecessary. I'm curious what it cost to do it. I mean, I couldn't find it anywhere in your budget, what you spend on maintaining weeds, because that's what I was told it was for. And there's the environmental concerns and also just the health concerns of people. A lot of people now are opting out of pesticides for a variety of reasons. So like I said, I contacted Leroy, and then I also contacted the mayor via email, and thank you for replying. I appreciate that. And it stated that you frequently renew your policies to balance between environmental issues and the safety of the county. So I went online, and there's very little online, first of all. I did find a weed ordinance from 2008. Mentions nothing about spraying. I couldn't find anything on your whole website about spraying. Then I found an ordinance amending the weeds from 2019. This is probably the most current. And in here it says, local road authorities shall not be responsible for removal of noxious weeds within their established right-of-way, which shall be the responsibility of the underlying owner, possessor, or occupier of the land upon which noxious weeds are located. So I interpret that as you weren't supposed to even do that. Try to control the weeds either by mowing or by any method. And then I wanted to look into the right of way because I know there's a right of way concern. And yeah, I do have some planters that are, if you go by the 32 foot or whatever, are too close. And if I have to move them, I'll move them. But when I put those planters, there was like 6 years ago, I only put one, thinking, well, maybe the county won't like that. Never heard a word all of these years. So a heads up would have been nice instead of just coming by and spraying. It seems very indiscriminate because right past where you stopped spraying, there's a huge patch of invasive grass and you didn't spray that. If anything should have been sprayed, it should have been that and not all this. There was nothing there really to spray. But then I also found in the right of way about this exception, it says nothing herein shall be construed or repel or amend the provisions of a township ordinance permitting persons to plant or maintain boulevard plantings or gardens in the area of the right of way between their property and the street curb. Personal planting or maintaining boulevard plantings or gardens shall not be deemed to use or occupy the right of way and shall not be required to obtain any permits or satisfy any other requirements for plantings or maintaining such boulevard plantings or gardens under this ordinance. So I guess I have a concern. I wish there would be absolutely no spraying. That might be a pipe dream of mine because I be into environmental stuff, but at the least I would suggest or hope that you would notify people and give them the option to opt out of such sprayings.
Okay, thank you, Mary.
Yep.
Anybody else for open forum tonight?
Hello, Corey Tate, 9801 185th Street East, Credit River, Prior Lake. I just want to do a follow-up to the end of the meeting 2 weeks ago when we were talking about what we're going to do with this building or what you're going to decide to do. And I just wanted to make a comment that whether this building stays as it is, whether it gets added onto, whether it gets leveled and rebuilt, whether we move somewhere else, the building has to be safe for the employees. And I think we heard from Amy a couple weeks before that meeting. Anyway, it was the day of the storm. And remember, there was tornadoes coming in and we got talking about there's no tornado shelter here. And then we did ask her if she felt safe. And she said she often did not feel safe here being alone because of the doors and be having to look out the window when somebody knocked and so forth. And I think we need to, I know Councilman Leroy, you got some estimates for doors. If the doors need to be replaced, if the locks need to be made better, if we need a security system better, even if it's some expenses that we're doing down the road, if we don't have this building, it still needs to be done now. People need to be safe when they're working here, male or female, it doesn't matter. So that, I just wanted to say that as just a follow-up to that meeting, that I think that we need to move forward with some safety measures here in this building, along with Councilmember Jay, you mentioned we need to check out various things about this building before we make any decisions, especially the sewer, number one, and some other issues. I think that we really need to do that kind of stuff before any other decision is made, but I do think we need to make this building secure. And it doesn't have to be a huge expense, but it needs to be done before, you're not going to get anybody to hire in here if they're going to have to be alone. So it's just a thought. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else for open forum tonight? Seeing none, we'll close open forum and move into general business. General business 7.1, Scott County Trail Maintenance Agreement, Administrator Jelinski.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. I received an email from Scott County quite early when I started. They had started talks with Eric before me about a trail maintenance agreement. I put in the packet some background. I reached out to Scott County with some questions of my own, to which they replied, and they're in the packet. And when we heard back from the Parks and Trails survey, how important the trails were to the community and the upkeep, the county had been asking several times when we were going to decide on the contract. There is a employee from Scott County here if you have any questions on the contract. The last time it was done was in 2023. The next time it's set to be done is in 2028. So another 3 years from now. That cost was about 17,000 a couple years ago. We did add another trail along to that. I'm going to estimate somewhere $25,000 to $30,000 range would be where we'd be at in that 2028 timeframe. We do have funds in our parks budget that we could use for this, or we could plan to budget for the next several years to cover that. We don't know the actual cost, what that will be till late 2027, according to the agreement. So the recommendation would be to approve to approve the agreement and enter into the agreement. From what I understand, we're the only entity that hasn't signed into this as of yet, so.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Council, questions or discussion? Jake.
As I drive and also ride on the trails that we have on bicycle, I always see them in use. And I think that it's important. We've started to connect our communities, our little neighborhoods together. Country Court's now connected to the rest of Credit River through this Texas Avenue Trail. We started our capital improvement for roads a long time ago, and it was a smart move. And it keeps our roads in good condition. And, you know, I think we should also be doing that with our trails. And I believe that Scott County, if we're just working as a cost sharing with them and them doing the work on it, I think we're getting probably the best efficiency and deal that we can out of it. So I would urge that we go ahead and take care of this agreement.
Okay. Thank you, Jay. Anybody else?
I just have one question.
Yeah.
In the packet, it says about 17,000, but looking back in May of 23, they quoted 19, almost 20. So do we know what happened, what we actually paid in 23?
I don't know why. I'm guessing it was just an estimate and came in a little less than what they had thought. Again, like, so we'll have an estimate late of 2027, and when it actually comes to 28, it may be more or less as well.
Okay.
One of the,
I suspect, Dave, is much like projects we do, we put a budgetary number out there fall before, and then you bid it in that spring, and then, you know, if you get a better price than the bid at the time, which could come in lower.
It wouldn't have been that
Oh,
connection we made from at the end of 170th.
yeah, I remember that was a separate.
That was a
Fiber
separate
stick,
piece,
yeah.
yeah, that was a separate piece during the construction. So,
we would also have the benefit of using that bid price if we wanted to do our trails for that price too. We could go out for a bid along with that to use that, but that would be another benefit too. Yeah.
That's my only question.
Yeah, I have a few questions. Number one, townships don't have to do this. They don't get charged for the Scott County trails. Is that correct? Because I didn't see the townships in the list. It was only cities. So therefore, when we became a city, the county started to charge us or wanted to start charging. Is that correct? When we became a city?
I believe that's correct, yes.
Okay. Would the county then pay 50% of the city trail maintenance? And the city construction costs of trails, if there were city versus a county road?
That is not in the contract.
And that gives me a little bit of heartburn. And I want to be a good partner with the county, but it's a county road. We don't have any say over, I don't think we had any say over, for example, County Road 27, when that was rebuilt, whether they're gonna put two trails on both sides of the street. I don't see a lot of people on the trails when I drive by, but maybe I drive by in the wrong days. I see hardly anyone driving on or using the trails on 21, and I don't know about 8. I don't understand why maybe the county people why doesn't the county just levy all county residents for their trails? Because I'm worried that now what's the park system going to do? I think most of our citizens use got a mental blank. What's the park over there? Cleary Lake. I think that's the trail that gets the most use, and today we don't pay for maintenance on those trails. I'm just wondering why the county just doesn't levy the county residents for their trails, as opposed to saying, hey, city, you pick up 50%, because then we have to now increase our levy. And from an optics perspective, I don't like that. So why didn't we sign this? Also, another question, why didn't we sign this in 2023 if we were paying it? I mean, what good is the contract? What value do we get signing this contract? If we, 3 years ago, we didn't have to sign the contract and we paid 50%. I don't understand why we would want to sign this.
Yeah,
And I think Shakopee, by the way, Shakopee and another city they're not under this, correct? They do their own trails, correct?
Yeah, and if we didn't, if we chose not to do this, then we would be responsible for.
Right, but not for our county trail, not the county road trails, just our city trails, correct?
Correct.
And we don't have any city trails today.
Yep.
So I'm struggling with what value do we get signing this contract today? That's my question. I understand that we need to maintain trails, but it's not our trail to maintain. And if the county's not gonna, we did have city trails and the county's not gonna pick up 50% of the city trail costs, and I don't understand why we would pick up 50% of the county trail cost. So, and you know, Steve, that's, I mentioned that to you in an email, so those are my concerns.
Okay, anybody else? No. Anybody ready to make a motion?
Make a motion to accept it.
A second.
Can I ask one more question then to follow up on Bill's? So if we don't, then we're stuck with it 100%, or we just let it crumble? That's our options, correct?
Well, it's county trail though. How could, it's their choice to let it crumble. It's not our choice. It's not our trail. It's a regional county trail. On those county roads.
So what's we
What's,
pay money for what, 10 years?
that's the 827.
That's on County Road 27.
Yeah,
But
that's just the project,
for the
not trails.
project,
But
correct.
the project
Well, the
is
project
all the
included
trails. Yeah.
Absolutely.
The project included a blacktop and a cement trail, and we talked them into, they said they were doing blacktop on both sides. At the time, so,
Either way, I think that's the new standard.
because
Makes more sense.
it is, because of concrete's crazy to try and keep up.
So it is an asset to our community that, you know, probably more of our residents use than any other residents. So we clearly benefit more than other communities do, which is why similarly, when we do a local road project, we assess. The city pays for park and we assess the resident benefiting properties.
Well, the reality is that we paid for half of it,
Part of it, yes.
or a portion of it. It still belongs to us, so we should maintain it.
Mhm.
We shouldn't let it just go to hell.
And it does get used an awful.
It
lot.
does get used a lot. I see, every time I drive by it, I see at least 2 or 3 different parties of people on it. And I use it quite often, and I think a lot, and when I'm riding on it, a lot of other people do. It connects Cleary Lake Park to some of the other places. That's how you get there if you're on bike.
I've passed more people Saturday morning riding up to Lakeville and back
Yeah,
than I have in a long time. After 21.
When I looked at the survey, only 34% of the respondents said that they use a trail, and it wasn't specific on what trail they use. I agree that the trails in Cleary Lake Park and Murphy Hanaran get used a lot. I don't see a lot of use today. With 27 or with 21, and I don't know about 8 because I don't drive down there. So I don't know why I don't see any, and you guys do.
All right.
Why can't the county just keep it on the county levy, our 50%? Can't they levy Credit River citizens themselves as opposed to us levying it for levying for it?
I mean, it certainly ask.
Yeah. What? Because we don't get charged, I go back to Clear Lake, we don't get charged for that trail. It gets charged probably by the county, it's via the county levy.
Through the
Oh, no,
park.
the park system, yeah, the park system,
Fair Rivers.
right,
Cooperative with Scott County.
right. So I just don't understand why we're doing this. From an optics perspective, it looks like the county wants to push more of the cost to the city, to make their tax levy look better. When it's a county trail. We're not asking the county to pick up the city trails cost.
So just one more comment and to respond to that, just, you know, if you do it that way, Bill.
Yeah.
Then you're also then paying for all the other trails on county roads in other cities, which is far more mileage in other cities than Clear River. So all the way through Prior Lake, and County Road in Prior Lake and County Road in Plain, Jordan, all those other ones, you're also paying for all the time rather than a 50-50 split, which then you're only paying for when it's maintaining your city. All right, I've got a motion and a second to approve the Scott County Trail Maintenance Agreement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 4-1. Moving to 7.2, Resolution 2025-27, a resolution approving the final plat for development known as Yellowstone Credit River Third Edition. And we'll also look at approving the development agreement. And who's got that one? Steve or?
Correct. I think
Chris online? Okay.
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Chris Jansen. I work with Claire Stickler, who had a healthy baby and is at home. So congrats to her, but I wanted to run through this quick. You might have to guide me a little bit because I'm not sure how much Claire does she go through the whole staff report? Does she kind of give you the gist of what we're asking you to do? How do you guys prefer that to be done?
Chris, a little summary would be great about the project and where we stand with the project, and then what we're being asked to approve tonight.
Okay, awesome. So the project is a final plat for the Yellowstone to Credit River, the third edition. The site is located north of the territory, southeast of Terra Farm, west of the ranch of Credit River. The final plat consists of 8 home lots with 2 outlots measuring, they're all 2.5 acres at least, that will be served by individual well and septic. The parcels are all zoned rural residential. There are other future additions and phases planned for development that will be platted at a later time. And I think on the project update that I sent out to the council via Steve, we mentioned some of those other preliminary and final plats and where those are at, but we can certainly ask questions about those later. The preliminary plat for this, which is tied to, had 79 home sites when the project is fully built out. Again, compliance-wise, all the lots are larger than 2.5 acres, so they meet that requirement. The final plat proposes an extension of Whisper Way and 210th Street, which is consistent with what the preliminary plat showed. Parks, trails, open space, park dedication was required for this plat and is included in that developers agreement, which you guys will look at or have looked at. And the preliminary plat required the construction of a trail along Dakota Avenue. This addition is not adjacent to Dakota Avenue, so it does not include that provision as part of it. Engineering wise, we are still wrapping up some final pieces to that engineering. There was an engineer's memo included and identified some minor items that require updates to the submitted plans prior to the release of the final plat for recording. And that memo is included in the packet. And I think Shane can probably provide some detail on that if you would like as well. Infrastructure, all lots will be served by individual sewage treatment systems. And the Scott County is reviewing that at the time this packet was done, but they were in line with the preliminary plat. So we had just are getting that basically final, and it is a condition of final plat approval. Direction for city council. One of the bigger things, and this is kind of in that middle part of the staff report, city council has requested review and make a motion to approve the conditions or deny the final plat for Yellowstone Credit River third edition. The resolution to approve has been included. So that is staff's recommendation at this time. Council, as a review of the proposed final plat third edition should include a discussion and a decision about the adjustment of condition 16 to the resolution approval of the preliminary plat. That condition reads, the developer is responsible for identifying the locations of where the monitoring wells are proposed to be relocated in coordination with the city's community treatment septic operator, and is fully responsible for relocating them and obtaining all necessary permitting and approvals from the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. There are monitor wells that are impacted by the footprint. The monitoring wells are not impacted by the footprint of the third edition. The developer does not wish to relocate them at this time. It's requesting that instead of relocating those, that an establishment of a temporary easement that ensures the city and the CSTS operator that the city contracts with have access to those monitoring wells until they are removed or relocated. The responsibility for relocating the monitoring wells and obtaining all necessary permitting remains on the developer. If the council is agreeable to that modification and the use of temporary easements to ensure compliance with the intent of the council's approval of the preliminary plat with conditions, The proposed easements would be accepted with the approval of the third edition final plat. So in the packet was a staff report, the staff report from August 1st and the 31st with the engineering memo from the 31st, final plat, a resolution for final plat approval, and then the developers agreement. That is about the gist of it. I would say if you go into the resolution, there are a number of conditions, which isn't wholly unusual, but those would all be need to be agreed upon as part of this by the developer and their representative.
Hey, thank you, Chris. Shane, you have something to add?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and Council, just one other quick item. So this phase also includes, or some of the lots back up to that old grade control structure. Some of you might have seen pictures of it, and that would be also removed with this phase. So just wanted to mention that. There's still some DNR permitting and things like that to work out, but that would be a condition of approval and also a condition in the development.
Shane, a question on that, what would that, because that's a sizable drop, the level of the top of that structure to bottom. What's it, 20 feet? 15, 16 maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. We've had one meeting where we talked about it, right now it's underwater, so it's really hard to survey.
Yeah.
And so one question that the developer's engineer asked the DNR is, would it be acceptable to drain the water out of that so we can better see what we have and develop a plan, so.
Sure.
That's something that's still being worked on. There's one concept where they had some kind of rock veins, where the riprap and then the rock would stick up, and so it create these little steps.
Sure.
In the creek. Ultimately, the way our language is worded is remove the dam and restore the ditch to prevent erosion, acceptable to the city and to the DNR. So we have language in there that I think covers the city, and ultimately really is going to be kind of up to the DNR.
Sure. And that all lands anyways on private property, not on any city easement or anything, correct? I mean, I think that.
Well,
that's not
today
part-
it's on private property. When the final plat is recorded, there is drainage and utility easement that's dedicated over the creek.
Okay,
And then it becomes dedicated to the public, so.
sure, public waterway, right, okay. Peter, any concerns on this request to change condition number 16? Talking about the temporary easements for the monitoring wells.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I have no concerns. I reviewed the condition of approval from the preliminary plat. It does not peg the removal to a specific phase or a specific time. And condition 13 of this resolution continues that requirement and requires them to provide the easement that we need to make sure we can continue to use and maintain those monitoring wells until the development. So I have no-
Perfect, thank you. Council members, any questions for staff or discussion? No. If there's none, I would take a motion to approve resolution 2025-27, a resolution approving the final plat for development known as Yellowstone Red River Third Edition.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Bill.
Second.
Thank you, Jay. Motion by Marker, second by Siderbrook. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. 7.2B is a developers agreement for this. And staff, I don't know if staff has any comments on the developers agreement.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, thank you. I met with a developer this morning and they wished to change the date of the mostly completed date from October of this year until October of next year, because they would like to dig the retention ponds during the winter time. And then they also asked for a reduction in their letter of credit from 1.8 million to 1.337 million, just based on they thought we were using an older engineer's estimate. And so again, those were just brought today and asked for an amendment. One option is that we can approve at least the letter of credit amount as is, and then ask for a reduction at the next meeting. If that's the case, otherwise, like to leave that to Shane for comments on those requests.
Other than that, the developers agreement though, like, Peter, you're good with where we're at and that everything?
Mayor and council, if you approve the development agreement tonight, it should be approved subject to final approval by the city engineer and any necessary minor modifications. Because I understand the plans are very close, but we don't have the final approved plans yet. And other than that, I believe the council should decide whether to stick with the dates in here and the LOC amount in here or change it. That should not be delegated to staff. I'll have to come back to you later.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, can we change that now as we approve it as an
The
amendment?
dates,
Yeah,
right, we're okay changing.
You haven't approved anything yet.
Right.
You can change it now if it works for Shane and it makes sense to council.
Okay,
so how do you want to do that?
well, let's see, I think Shane probably, you wanna talk about the engineering piece, you're comfortable with the engineering pieces that they can be resolved if we approve it conditionally?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, the comments at this point are just, minor technical comments. I have no concerns that they will be addressed. As far as the date, I think that's a reasonable request. We'd rather have them do that in the winter, especially if they're gonna be hauling any of the material off site. And so that's, I have no objections to the date. The letter of credit, I may agree with it, I just don't know yet, because we just received it today. So, as the city administrator mentioned, we could approve the developers agreement today. There is already a mechanism built in for letter of credit reductions. So we could come back, and if it's based on actual contract bids, I can review that. Provide a recommendation for reduction, 2 weeks from now. Or I guess really that's probably the only option.
Okay, perfect. All right. Jake,
So I would-
work on it.
I would make a motion that we go ahead and approve this with the letter of credit as is, and then it can be modified later. And change the dates. Because that actually does sound like a much better way to do it.
Mayor and council, could we hear the date you want to change to? I'm sorry, just clarification of your motion, Council Soderbach. What date do we want to move the deadline to?
Date that he
October
requested,
26th.
which would be October 26th
26.
October
of 26, yeah.
Was that the requested date, right?
Yeah, so we should use a date certain, so October 31st, 2026.
Perfect.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
As stated.
All right, got a motion?
I'll second it.
Any other comment? Got a motion by Siderbock, seconded by Schomer to approve the developers agreement for the plat known as Yellowstone of Credit River Third Edition. With the change to the date of mostly completed by October 31st of 2026. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Moving on to 7.3, resolution 2025-26, a resolution approving support for sewer and water extension project geo bonding bill request. Administrator Jelinsky.
Mayor and council, thank you. Back in June of 2020 or this year, I submitted an application to the Minnesota MMB for a bonding request for the Country Courts Sewer Water Program. One of the concerns of the council was how would we pay for a project like that? The deadline for 2026 was back in June. So we needed a preliminary application sent in with a total. That total was entered at $12.8 million. That was based on engineer estimates with inflation. And because the project may not take place for a year or 2 or 3 or whenever we are able to get to that. So we need to make sure that we inflate that cost to cover any additional expense that comes. One thing to note is that the government can award up to that amount. So it's at their discretion from anywhere from nothing to what we ask for. So that would also play into account of funding for the project. And then we would also, if council elects to support the resolution tonight, seek also support from the county and from the scale group as well, and make that a priority for them, which would then help us get some lobbying through the scale to help us with that program. So take any questions if you have any.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
I have one, and it really, it's the resolution, it's actually the last line. Whereas the city of Credit River has no other bonding bill projects and considers the Country Court Neighborhood Sewer and Water Extension Project as its number one and only priority for state bonding. What are we doing with our residents in the south and the CSTS areas? And we got an extension from the MPCA on what we're doing there. You know, I do recall that we talked about possibly doing something with a force main sewer extension with the city of Lakeville out to service that and do that, you know. And my question is that now not a really big priority? You know, or do we really have two priorities that we're looking at? I mean, if we're asking for bonding money and we're looking at that, I think that we should be looking at that project, because we got an extension on it. But there's the clock's ticking on solving some problems down there. And you know, I think it's actually, to me, it's probably more important than the election. I mean, there's a possibility with the country court thing that if it just waits a while, the mine will catch up to it and they may develop, and that might cause a different route to be available for sewer, et cetera, than coming through that. But so the question is, you know, my real question is, what are we doing with the neighborhoods down in the CSTS that all of a sudden, you know, they need something? And you know, we can fix it, it's expensive fixes, but you know, a permanent solution down there is probably a force main sewer through there, which, if I recall, was about 2.3 million. You know, and all of a sudden we're not talking FUD. And we should maybe, my suggestion is that we look at this, I know there's a timeline on this submission, but we should really be maybe having two projects on it, at least. Was he here?
Go ahead, Rick. Stephen Stefanski probably didn't know much about the southern portion of what we're doing in the north, so.
And it's a separate project. It's not like you would combine the two.
No, but I mean,
the
there could
bonding
be
requests.
But I have a problem with the bottom where it just says it's our only.
It is today.
Yeah.
Because we don't have a project built out for Stonebridge yet. We don't have anything final on that one yet.
But my point is, we should have something down there.
Don't disagree.
Yeah.
But that's a whole separate workup to get to that point of any type of submission for that. I mean, we don't have an agreed upon project. I know there's a couple different options of, yes, you know, we have an interest estimate to do a force main to Lakeville. We've had conversations around that. We also have another project that was scoped out to do a on-site treatment as well. That is a separate subject that we need to come back to define direction before we can say we're going to look at state funding for that or some of the funding sources. So I think.
So is it too late at this point with the bonding requests to modify this and ask for two?
Yeah, because I think, well, I mean,
We
we
haven't
haven't
asked
asked the party to answer that question.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Councilmember Satterbach. Yes. The initial application had to be in June for any project that we had. You could have several projects, and I think the language that you're referring to is that you need to prioritize the projects that you submit. And since this is the one and only project we submitted, that's why the language states that. But we can't add another project to already a submission. What we can do is amend our current submission by adding supporting documents and any type of maps or engineering reports, that type of stuff. So
Mr. Mayor.
Just one point, to your discussion. So we do, with that schedule of compliance, we do have some work coming up later this year. In which we'll take a look at, the options and have a discussion with the council and kind of move that ball along. And so that is, already coming up later this year. And then, I don't disagree, with Councilor Sauterbach's comments. So I guess after we take the steps that are outlined in the schedule of compliance, if we decide that's the route that the city is going, then it may be advisable to add that application to our, for a future bond. At this point, we, or the council hasn't decided which direction we're gonna go. We have two options that were considered, and we need to do some work to for the council to make a decision in which direction, so. But it's coming. Yeah. By the end of this year, I believe, is the deadline for. Doing a kind of here soon.
Bill?
Yeah, I have questions. Bonnie bill, that's done every 2 years in the state, is that correct? So if we waited, we weren't successful in 26, we would just file another application in 28, is that correct? In 30 or whatever, unless there's a special one. These are general obligation bonds, are they repayable? Or are they grants? Meaning not pay, we don't have to pay them back.
Need some batteries.
No, I think you got, when you get back and forth between you and off.
yeah, thank you, Councilmember Marker. Yeah, the city wouldn't have to pay those back.
So you're, okay.
But they're called GEO because the state is bonding for
Okay.
that money.
So we're not asking, okay. Because there's so two separate kinds, right? There's the kind that they're general obligation bonds that the state takes out and then they give you the money and you pay it back. The city pays it back. We're not talking about those.
Correct,
So these are grants,
correct.
okay? And when you see the 12.8 million, tell me what inflation rate you used or how many years did you go up? Because that's a 30% increase from what the original estimate was.
Yeah, Councilor Margaret, it is about a 30% increase, on the state bonding application. They actually have, so first you determine the midpoint of the project.
Okay.
And then based on the midpoint of the project, we just have a fact.
Okay.
And it was about 30%.
Was it really? And for how many years out is that though? Because that's
I
a
believe-
10% inflation
yeah,
rate for on average for like 3 years.
Right, yeah, I believe our midpoint of the project was 2029.
Okay.
All
All right. I guess it does.
Define.
Do you have to use all the money that you, okay, and the 50%, I was under the assumption that the state typically, if you have a $10 million project, for example, I'm gonna use round numbers, $10 million project, for example, they like to see the local municipality pay 50%. And then, the state picks up the other 50%. Is that what you're saying here? That would occur not, they wouldn't pick up to 12.8 million, they would pick up to 6.4 million.
Correct. Yes,
Okay,
that's
so
correct.
that's what you're saying.
Yep, and with engineer Nelson's estimate, you know, that $10 million project was 5 of it sewer, water, 5 of it road. So
Yeah,
we would be doing the roads anyway. So that would essentially cover the
okay,
sewer water portion of that project.
okay. This, just help me, so understanding that there's 3 other subdivisions that are similar to Country Court. We wouldn't ask in this bond request, we wouldn't ask in this grant request for those other developments to get money to have them, they're replaced, correct? Are we thinking we would go out in 2 years and ask for the next subdivision and so on and so forth? We're not doing it all at once?
Correct. I don't, we didn't have any numbers for any of those projects yet.
Okay. And is there a time frame from when we have to, let's say they agree? When, first of all, when do they agree to this? When would we know if we were successful or not? Is that
It
next
would,
May
yeah.
Session.
Yep.
in the session? Okay. And then how many years do we have to use the money?
5.
5. Is that the start of the project or is that the end of the project? Do we have to have all the money spent within 5 years, or do we start spending it in 5 years and actually push it out?
We have, I believe we have 5 years to use the
Use it?
funds. Yeah,
And if we don't use it, you lose it,
correct.
correct? And do you know if we can amend that ever, or amend the date of 5 years?
Probably with legislative
Okay.
amendments, yeah.
Okay, thank you for giving me that clarification. I definitely want to do this. I don't think there's any, downfall for applying. But I don't agree we should do it today. And I guess the only concern I have is doing it in 26, because I think we haven't done all our homework, in my opinion, in terms of like, how many things have failed? Of course, everything is likely to fail, and if you can make that statement for anything in life. Since sometime we're all gonna die someday, you know, it's something's gonna happen, but we haven't studied anything about if there are system issues with, or the private well issues. We haven't studied that. We make all these assumptions in these whereas statements that I'm not comfortable agreeing with. I don't think we've done our homework on this stuff yet, and I would be concerned about approving something that I don't agree with the whereases in the document. I do agree with the fact that we should apply. So I don't know how I get around to approving this. And my last question, does this have to be an anonymous vote? Or what happens with our request if you have one or more council members not consenting?
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Market. I'm not sure how much weight they put on resolutions of support from city, county, any other
Okay.
entity. Just good to have support from the city
Okay.
that the majority is wanting to do the project, thus the support.
Any other questions, comments from council?
The comment that our engineer made about not being ready for the CSTS, I do agree we're not quite ready up here as well. My main question would be, I do think we need to have that discussion, but if we do not use these funds, what does that do for our next request? Is it cast us in a light that we're now gonna make a request and they're gonna approve it and they're not gonna be doling the funds out, or what is that? Do we have any idea of that?
Shane, can you answer that? If it's, you've dealt with.
Yeah, so my experience, I have a partner that's, they're building a project that was funded about 50% with, a similar program. They applied for this a couple years ago. It's another metro suburb. And to me, it seems like it's more political than application based logic.
Right. So what are we gonna have to do? Besides filling out an application?
Yeah, so I think, having a good relationship with your legislators is important. I mean, ultimately, they're the ones that shape the bills that get approved, so. The project that is under construction right now is literally a road project that I thought had a very little chance of being funded, and they received $4 million.
Is it true that there's a list and there was quite a few unfunded requests in this last go around, or was it?
The last go around, they didn't fund any
locals.
any local
Any locals.
projects, yeah.
Do we stay on the list though for the next round? You gotta redo it.
You have to reapply. I believe the preliminary list that we applied for had a couple $1 billion of projects listed. And we don't know how much they're going to grant. So. We all, part of the application process will be a, call it an elevator pitch to the legislators too. We'll have to go to St. Paul and give a 5-minute, here's the project, here's why we really need it.
So when we were at the park meeting in Country Court, most questions that we had about this were when, how much. We can't give the how much or the when, so we know for a yes or no on this piece of it. This is a key piece to the how much piece.
Well, the other thing we have to figure out is, how much of it's actually part of the infrastructure. We're talking about the cost of bringing it over or under County Road 44, which benefits all upstream. We're talking about a lift station in there, which benefits all upstream connections. So it's not like you're just spending $10 million on that neighborhood. I mean, there's a portion of this that's upstream infrastructure, which is actually what, this type of a bonding bill benefits, because it benefits the immediate cost of putting those, even though the hookup for those and the benefiting parties to those hookups come farther down the line. Could be years, many years. But that's something that's important on getting the thing in. I personally am not ready to make a decision myself on whether to support putting the sewer into that neighborhood until I hear from the rest of my neighbors. But that's something that we should at least try to see if we can get the money for. And if we, and then the decision to actually do it should be made after we have more information and also knowing whether or not we have that covered. At the same time, I would just say that I really seriously think the clock is ticking up for our stuff down in the south, and we should be moving that to a priority as well. We're pissing away a year of the years that of the finite years that we have for an extension to do something like that. So
Mr. Merritt, what if we decide not to approve this tonight? What does that mean? We have until October to amend, so we could have further discussions on the project as a whole before we go back and can amend by saying we pull, or what really are our options? So it feels like we've already made the application, but we have time to amend. Does that amend mean also to pull back on it? Or what is our option?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and councilors, if we want support from the county and scale, that's where the timeline runs into it, because the county only meets so often, and to get support from them, and the scale priority list is coming up here very quickly. So to get on their list, then we also need to show them that we have support from the city to move forward.
the administrator has a point on that. That is that's the for both of them. Yeah.
So the timing is right to support this request and then request support from partners, Scott County and Scale, to assist us with this.
I mean, I'm happy that we're seeking outside aid. I think that is the right way to go. We should be looking at all resources that we can to do this, and I think that's this is the right way to go. if the priority is to get to the top of the list in the front of the line with scale, and I don't see where we're gonna get this, into this without the help of scale in the county. Obviously, that's not gonna happen for Credit River, at the legislature, but with the, strength of the county and scale lobbying, then we should really be trying, if that's what it takes to get to the front of the line, we should get to the front of the line now. If we've got some more amendments, or we want fine tune this, I think we still have time to do that, we still could, correct?
Yeah, we can add more supporting documentation.
So then my suggestion would be that we get on the board with this. Continue to work on it, to fine tune it. And then we should also be really looking at something down in the south. Because the sad part of that is that, you know, they gave us what, 5 years? Half a year's gone by. If we don't get this, you know, obviously, we're not gonna get into this next one, so we're looking at 2028 bonding bill for that. You know, we're gonna get whistleblower on our 5-year extension.
We have 5 years to come up with a plan, not to execute.
Not to extension. Okay, right.
Correct.
All right, so
So we have,
we need to be on 2028, we need to be in asking for something there. Having that worked out.
I just feel like we're not in alignment on what we want to do with water and sewer. And what we keep doing is we keep ignoring the fact that we make these steps to force us into that direction without making that decision. So what we're in actuality doing is making that decision. And I feel like we're doing our residents a disservice. I feel like we're doing our kind of city council a disservice by not having this discussion. I know we have that workshop hopefully being talked about, but that's just for the government center. We also have a major issue with the water and sewer, and that's just feels like it's getting swept under the rug, just to be honest.
I don't disagree with you.
well, except that it's not, I mean, it's really not even an option for these residents that live in, if we have 500 homes of workforce housing that exist in areas that can't support septic long-term period. We had technical presentation, talked about it, showed us the reasons why that doesn't work. And yet we have some of the council that continues to deny that this needs to happen. We've known for 50 years that this is needed to happen.
But we haven't, that's the statement I don't agree with, because we haven't surveyed the residents. We don't know if it failed because there's a mechanical part that you can replace. We're assuming that it's always drain field. It's always the drain field. That's why it's failing. We don't know that, Chrissy. And I think that each homeowner should have their system looked at, or the city does it for all of them to determine, yes, that is the case. These things are all gonna be wrapped in 5 years, but we don't know that.
So
So
we know that there's a timeline. We know that the lots aren't big enough to support additional sites. You need 5,000 square feet.
there's different systems though, besides what they have today. Maybe they can.
More than city water and sewer.
How do you know that, Chris? That's the part that if you can show me that for each of the sites, good. I just think we're taking too big of a step to spend 10 to 12 million dollars. When we're just making assumptions on things. And I'm all for putting in sewer and water if all these sites, you know, they're not useful anymore. Then at least I can get comfortable with, yeah, we gotta spend all this money. I'm just not there yet, and
then the other piece that you're missing is that's part of our comprehensive plan. It's in our comp plan to do this.
plans change.
It's in the plan, it's in the regional.
Plans
system.
change. We can say that, hey, we looked at this closer. We don't have to do it at this period of time. We can do it later on.
And then we have roads that are failing in these neighborhoods. We just put a really expensive Band-Aid on one. But there's timelines to that as well, so we're gonna spend $5 million rebuilding the roads and not put this infrastructure in. I mean, that's the part where you get to the spot where it's. Right, whether you think the sewer needs to happen or not now, the roads need to happen. And you're not gonna spend $5 million rebuilding these roads. And especially if you can take advantage of funding opportunity to get the other part covered. That makes complete sense to get that done at this time.
Yeah.
Leroy.
Yeah, so this whole thing started in 2008, when septic started failing left and right in Casey's addition. And it was brought to their attention by the county, by the Met Council. We came up with a sewer study at that time, to run emergency forced mains. And it hasn't gotten any better. They're, they pounded in like 10 septic systems in their front yards because they don't have anywhere to put the alternate in Casey's addition. So I think it's needed. At least take steps for the funding and whatever, back out of the funding.
I don't agree with taking a step in the funding. I think I'm just trying to voice my concern that we're having this funding and then we're going to get to the place where you just said that we now have the money to do it and we're gonna do it. I think we owe it to be able to say, let's do the mathematical equation and example to say, what's it really gonna cost our residents?
Right. You do a
And-
range. We get 0 funding, we get 50% funding, you can do a range and give that to,
It's a worst case scenario without the funding.
right.
And best case is this if we got it all. I mean, it's not that difficult to have that dialogue because there are different septic systems. I think Scott County said there was 4 type 4s or whatever. I don't remember how many the number was, but there is other options. And to say that there's not is not true. There is a different options, but we can't tell. No one's ever presented that. That's the problem. Let's just get the numbers out here. And no one will
Then
do
there's
that.
No reason not to approve this resolution and keep moving forward on this. We can move on that same path and do those things. The other piece of that you also remember is that to get to the numbers, it's not as easy as you think just to get the numbers. We're gonna have to consider our assessment policies. We don't even have assessment policies for sewer and water, whether it's gonna be contained in rates and hookup fees, or are we gonna do assessments to pay for part of it? Are we gonna do that for the road?
Right.
How are we gonna handle the?
So
road
then let's
part?
have
We
those
need- we need-
conversations. We're not doing that.
We need a finance discussion. We talked about this 2
Absolutely.
months ago and
We
I
can-
sent
we can Do
him,
that, but we should keep moving on this path, because then if we don't. If we're not awarded any money in 26, then we're ready to come back in 28 and apply again.
Then I'd like to have a standing agenda item every single meeting to talk about what we're doing, because we're not doing anything. And that's my problem. My problem is not this resolution. My problem is by not doing something, we're just going down the path of doing it. And I don't think I think that's a complete disservice to all of us and to the residents here.
Abe had a good suggestion in an email a month ago about like put down about sewer and water and what was the other government center. Put down your position, why you have your position, what's your rationale for it. I sent mine in. How many do we have in so we can have?
I have all of
workshop.
them
You
as
have
of
all
this morning, yeah.
Okay, as of this morning? So can we have a workshop to talk about this stuff? Because we're not gonna solve anything tonight.
Well, I think that because we do have a timeline that we're looking at, and if we wanna put it off for another 2 years. Great, I think we should at least, I'm not. Completely. Overwhelmingly happy with all of this, but I think we should try to. At least and see where that's at, so I think, for tonight's business. We should have a motion to accept this as written. And approve it. And move on with it, but I think all the other discussion is really important, and then I think we need to get on the radar. Getting this thing done down south too, so that at least we're ready ahead of time. Because this could fail. And in the political climate with St. Paul right now, it may well fit. Nobody wants to spend any money. That would mean in 2028, we're looking for 2 different projects. So. But to not do it now. And leave it for 2028 would be a mistake, I believe. So I think we should at least get this approved.
So you're making the motion?
I'll make the motion as written. We should accept this.
I'd like to make an alternate motion to table this for this meeting and allow council members to modify the whereases within the resolution. Because I'm okay with this if it's reworded. We're making some general statements here that I don't agree with, so I can't approve this as written.
Mr. Mayor and Councilmember Marker, it would not be in order to make another motion right now. When, if there's a second on this motion, as part of the discussion, you could be saying why you would be voting no and what you plan to do if you're successful, but you can't make a competing motion until the one that has been raised first is ruled on. If it's second.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's got a motion and a second.
Anything to speed this up.
I'm confused.
I'm sorry, so Councilmember Marker, would be out of order to make another motion right now, and what you're talking about is not an amendment to that motion, it's
It's a
the
totally
opposite.
another
Yeah,
motion.
it would be another motion, so you can lobby the rest of the council to agree with you in voting down this motion, so then you could bring your motion. And if this motion prevails, then your motion will probably not be available unless you got somebody who voted yes on the motion to reconsider. I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole. Sorry, Mayor.
No,
Yeah, you're good.
thank you for that clarification. All right.
So can I just ask one last question?
Yes.
August 29th is our deadline. We have another city council meeting before then. Why not have more of this dialogue? I get it. I understand why we're going after the money, and I agree with, if there's free money out there to get, we should use it. I'm not disagreeing with that at all. I just feel like in order to facilitate that conversation and make sure it happens, I would be voting no so that we actually have the conversation.
I think because of the timeline, if we're gonna get additional partners to also get on board with us, we need to move forward with it sooner. Because they're gonna need to.
There's a finite, there are a finite number of scale meetings.
But August 29th is when it's a deadline. So help me understand what that means.
So, we need to lobby it a little bit too, at scale, both the executive and the regular scale meetings. And with the scale numbers to try to get some additional support.
Based on the timing, it says September 19th is the review of submissions by scale legislature.
Yeah, scale has a meeting in August. They have a meeting in September. And then October will be.
The scale is probably the easy part, is Scott County, that has a harder timeline than scale.
So what is the Scott County timeline?
I don't know for sure, but I know their agenda packets are due relatively early compared to when their meetings are. You gotta have all stuff ready to go for this. It's not like you don't get to get on their agenda the week before. Their agenda deadlines are a lot farther in advance.
I would like to see us approve this now. And we, we can have another motion right after it to add some more time, discussion, the rest of it on this stuff.
We can,
on both
we
of these.
continue to have these discussions. It's not this isn't a stop. This is only the beginning.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
So I think we should approve this so that this can go ahead, because at the next meeting, you're just gonna kick it around again and it's not gonna go anywhere. You're gonna have the same discussion.
Well, I think that's the problem though, is you guys have been on the board for a long time and you have all this history. And I come in not knowing all this history, and we're asking for, why are we making these decisions? And we make statements that are very broad and says we can't, but when we ask for examples of why, it's just, we can't. And that's what we're asking for. Why can't we do this? Why do we have to do that? And that's why I want to have the workshop, so we can talk about, here's the position and here's the other position, and be able to have that dialogue so we can say, oh, I got it. Let's make sure that the residents understand that as well. I think that's what we're missing.
I'm all for workshops, but I think this should move along to get on the other agendas of the other committees, so.
All right,
That's my 2 cents.
I've got a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 3-2. Moving on, 7.4 is scale legislative priority planning. And I can start with this one, Steve, but Scale is asked that, beginning to start work on their legislative priorities for the 2026 legislative session. Attached in your packet is what they supported and the general categories of 2025. The ask of Scale is to know if the member cities still agree with those general broad-based priorities. And or if there's any other specific priorities, as in, I think we have a specific priority of this resolution supporting our bonding request, so. With that,
When's the deadline to submit our responses to them?
August 29th.
Cause I'll be honest, I haven't read this yet, and I need to read it to provide comments. Can we table this until the next meeting? Otherwise, if everyone else has read it.
Any other discussion? I mean, I think most of the priorities have been pretty much consistent year over year. First several, well, other than the second one, which is performing the official public notice one, that one will probably come off since that legislation did pass mostly. But the growth of development paid for by developers has always been a priority. Housing support, again, with local control has always been a priority. Roads and bridges paid for by the right progress spot. I mean, I don't care if other people want to also table it. They are pretty broad-based priorities.
Yeah, they went through this in the meeting.
I'm ready.
They went, the 2025 they went through
They went through some of these priorities
last year.
this year.
The legislative,
Update.
yeah.
Is there something in here about unfunded mandates that we don't like those?
Bill, I think that would be a one that Scale could probably get behind if it was a specific one, since the county did, they were able to avoid taking a hit, but the county often has unfunded mandates put upon them. And Health and Human Services pieces.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to add that as a specific topic, we certainly could. Yeah. And I think you'd have support on that one. For sure. Well, I would be happy to make a motion to accept these priorities and add the specific priority of our bonding request to it. And Bill, you want to add yours too? I'd be happy to add your priority for unfunded mandate.
Yeah, I just don't know how, I'd have to frame it in a little more specific, right?
I think
I'll be honest,
we're talking about categories, so unfunded mandates.
I mean,
be appropriate.
All right.
It's not, our resolution isn't gonna pass through. I mean, they're gonna.
Yeah,
they're
it's
just
just
gonna take
all
it, put
sorted
it
out.
out,
We're just
put in the whole
we're
thing.
just
So if
putting
you
it
have,
exact.
basically, if you just have a statement,
A
in that, I
suggestion.
would agree with that. I'd support that. Because that's actually the state's new game is essentially let the counties and cities pay for it. That was part of the update.
I mean, I don't,
They took away the paying for it, state paying for it for things, but the counties still need to provide it, which basically drops on our.
ESST was a big one that.
Yeah.
Is an unfunded mandate.
And that basically lands on the taxpayer, whether we're in the city, whether we're living in the county, down below. So I think your recommendation is probably wise. We should throw that in there. And let the county people, as they put their thing together with scale. Basically just use it. At least it lets them know where we are, and I could totally agree with that.
So again, I'll make that motion to approve these general categories in policy bonding and other policy actions, as well as specifically asking for support for our bonding resolution and for to work on unfunded mandates.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Costick, second by Schomer, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. 7.5, consider directing, city administrator to solicit quotes for air, water, soil, and percolation tests at City Hall. Administrator Jelinski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At the last meeting, there was a lot of talk about this, specifically from Councilmember Soderbach about doing the tests, and then also from the Government Center Citizens Advisory Committee and staff as well. Also would recommend this getting done just for work safety, and so there was never an actual formal motion or direction at the last meeting to do this. So we're asking for the ability for me to go out and get quotes to see how much all these tests would be to do on City Hall.
So Steve, you're specifically saying quotes for like air quality in here, the water from our well.
Yep.
And then when you say percolation tests at City Hall.
For the septic,
would that also include like a basic design, or just, I mean, perk test would be just digging a hole in the ground, seeing where if the water goes away, which are a necessary component of a septic design. Are you thinking more in depth of sizing, available space and something like that?
Yeah, and I think that would help with discussion then for the workshop of, yes, there is an available site for a new septic, or or no, there's not. So
If I could help on this, because actually, I don't necessarily agree with what we're asking for here. It's not what I was asking for. Specifically at our last meeting. The perk test is really kind of not the important part. I think what we as we heard, there was somebody approached a septic contractor, and they said that they could do something. But as somebody that has to make the decision, I haven't seen any documentation from them. So what my suggestion at that time was that we should, to put this whole thing to rest, whether we can or can't, we should go out and deal with a third party or with a consultant that designs septic systems, plumbing engineer, and approach one and have them do a feasibility study on this. Of that, then perk test would probably be a part of it, but it's a small part.
Yeah.
We need to first of all find out if we've actually got the square footage to put a drain field, to put a standard trench drains field into this place. If there's enough undisturbed soil on this property, we have a big yard, but a lot of that, and we have to. If you look at the easement and the right of way for the county highway, it's kind of interesting because actually I was looking at that, and it looks like the road, even though the road easement is from center of road, when you look at the maps, it looks like maybe our yard's a little bit bigger on this side than it is over on the other. Well, we should, it might include a survey, but we need to definitely look at our boundaries. We need to look at where adjoining neighbors' wells and septic systems are, so that we can make sure that we have a place that's far enough away from them where we can put this. And then we have to decide whether or not, somebody has to tell us, yes, we can fit this in here, and the size that we would need, calculate the size that we would need, and then put that in. Then we could do a perk test, which isn't really very expensive, and that perk test will be in that location that they said is, you know, the feasibility study said would do that. But all of this kind of comes down to, let's get a plumbing engineer that specializes in sewer systems and septic, and let them do a feasibility study on it. You know, I don't know exactly what that would cost, but it's probably in the range of what you're asking. The other thing, we should do an air quality inside. Just what it is. An environmental engineer can do that. And then we need to get an architect or somebody that's competent in that to look at our security systems, look at the doors, look at our exiting, making sure that suggested locks that we put on or whatever we're going to do is actually meets the codes that we have. You know, just go right through the whole building and is it a safe environment for an employee to be in? And then just come up and make recommendations with what we need to replace or repair. You know, that should include probably at least the concept for a new entrance that's secure. And you know, those are the things that I would like to see so that I could make a decision on what we would need to do, because those at a minimum are what we do need to do because we have employees here. Yeah.
Leroy.
So we discussed this last meeting and as usual, just left it hanging. And now our administrator's asking to do something and he came up with some stuff. If we want this whole laundry list that you're coming up with, Jay, this is gonna take another 2 months. Why don't we just do the air and the water and see if it's suitable for an employee to be in here? Is the big issue. One employee approached me after our meeting the next day and she said, you owe it to us, the staff in here, to have the air tested. I said, I will, we'll get that done right away as soon as we can, so.
I don't disagree, we should do that right away. But this other part is very, very important. Yeah, I mean, it's just flat out important. Whether we do any other work with this thing, it would help us to decide. It would help our citizens group to decide also in their decisions as far as whether they continue to want to recommend remodeling. You know, or we look at other options. So, but to make it safe, it's water, it's air. Those are the quick, easy ones. We should just get those done right away. And that's just a phone call, and I don't think that that's gonna cost very much money at all. So we should do that, then we should get a consultant, Shane may know one. For septic. Or can you do that?
I think most septic installers are also designers, so probably a good one would be bone well drilling. With.
Again, I think that's where the quote piece comes in. I think we need quotes on septic design and feasibility, so.
We haven't, you know, that's the problem is we haven't seen it. So I would say that we should have the administrator get something so that we can make a decision on it. I mean, just saying that we can or can't.
So what you're saying is to speed this up, you're making a motion to have.
To authorize Steve to do
the air and water testing.
Yeah.
And get a quote on septic design.
Yeah.
That's
or maybe we can give him a not to exceed tonight so that he can just go ahead and do it.
Well, I'm sure the water and air probably falls within his purchasing.
It will.
So I think we can probably ask him to do that and then have quotes on the septic.
But what we're bypassing on this is entrance, other
We're
items.
not bypassing, we'll wait until we get those results to see if we decide to go anywhere.
Right, you don't wanna do that if you find out the air quality stinks.
Okay,
one.
I'll agree with that.
I'll agree with that.
That's what we agree.
Yeah.
Could we just add one thing too, that the GCCAC asked that we also do a test of the cement slab and soil underneath the current city hall building to confirm that that's not where the smell's coming from. And I assume that an environmental services company could do that test along with the air. That was in their resolution that they handed to us.
But a lot. I don't know what that would take, I don't know if that
But I-
drill a hole and send more lower in here or drill more, you know.
Yeah.
It's a couple more.
I think that's. It can be important to know that.
Well, I think
But
if you get the environment, if you sample the area where you get the environmental, what's here right now. And you get the water to start with. That is, I mean, they're basically right, we should be looking at that, because then if you get something out of the air, then you're looking for the cause. And you're looking for, you know,
I mean,
can you remediate it?
Steve, could you get a quote for doing all we're doing tonight is. Asking you to go out for quotes, right? You're not gonna.
I would say.
So that's what, so the initial suggested action was
He's got nothing.
to solicit quotes.
Yeah.
The other option is we could, because the two pieces, the air and the water are pretty simple.
Yeah.
We could approve that to get going
Right.
on those bills and then ask for a quote on septic design.
Okay.
On the expensive pieces of it.
Yep,
So I
That's-
think
good.
I think that'd be a reasonable way to
that would be
approach
fine.
it.
Yeah,
And ask for a quote on the soil, the cement slab and soil as well as the septic system designs.
Yeah, I'm fine with that as well.
Yep.
So if somebody is ready to make a motion on that.
so move.
I'll second.
Motion by Sonnerbach, second by Marker to direct city administrator to go ahead and source air and water testing on City Hall, and then quote for septic design and feasibility and ground. What do you want to call it? Ground or soil
Oh, well,
testing or
cement slab and soil underneath current city hall building.
Got it.
that.
And that soil, that includes soil, that includes soil percolation test by the septic system guys, right?
Well, that would come under the septic design.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
part of
that would
that.
be coming under that.
That's part of that.
Yes.
All right. Motion is second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed, hearing none, motion passes. 7.6, resolution 2025, a resolution authorizing contract with interested officer. This one is city administrator.
Mr. Mayor and Council, thank you. Councilmember Schomer had done an increase in the ditch mowing hourly rate for 2025. And that was my fault. It didn't get on before he started the work. And so in order to allow him to charge that rate for the next ditch mowing, we have a resolution that would up that rate to his new 2025 rate. So Attorney Michael had drafted the resolution that essentially added the ditch hourly rate of $120 and left the 75 with the rental, or 100 or without the equipment, it's at 100 with. So nothing had changed from the previous except adding the ditch hourly rate to make that for 2025.
Okay, council, questions, comments?
When did the rate start being billed?
Mr. Mayor. Yeah, if I may, this is for 2025, but the rates have to be prospective.
Right, you can't
There
retro.
has to be the resolution, and then before the first bill is submitted, we need an affidavit from Leroy stating all the things that you've done an affidavit like this before, stating that this is as low or as reasonable, it says lower than we could get elsewhere. All of that has to be submitted. Not all, but that affidavit has to be submitted before the city may make the payment. So this correction to your rate has to be forward looking only.
And the affidavit. I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question about that? The affidavit, what is it just, stating the fact that rate is better than this is the best rate you're gonna get, or does there have to be quotes from other entities to prove that? Because that was my concern with, I wasn't on the council when all these things were resolved in 2023. But that's the concern I have. This smells of conflict of interest. I would have never agreed to these things, but it is what it is, and they're out there now. So I believe we need to be very careful. And we need to have, it's not required to have quotes because the amount of money that's billed is below at the threshold or whatever, but. It's recommended that we get quotes, just to make sure that we're not. Because there's a perception conflict of interest. The city council is contracting with a city council member and. I'm just concerned. I'm much more comfortable if we get quotes for this. And we can prove that the $120, even the $100 is reasonable.
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Markert, first, the affidavit does not require quotes. The statute lays out like four items, but the heart of it is what we're just talking about. It says low or lower than you would get elsewhere. This resolution is council making a finding that these rates are already as low or lower. And so if council is satisfied based on whatever record you have or your common experience, having done this for a while, that would be the record basis for you to make the finding now in this resolution. And so the way the statute is set up, you're making that finding now. It's not an element for the affidavit later. And then I would note, I know it's in the council memo, but this has to be voted on with Councilmember Schomer abstaining, of course, and it has to be unanimous among the four of you, or else it fails.
I had a resident reach out to me today saying, hey, I might want to do this too. Why isn't this being for quote? And I just think because this, I know it's a small dollar amount, it's less than 10,000 a year. I think that because it's a council member doing work for the city council and getting paid for that work, I think we need to have quotes, even though it's not required. I think it would show that we're actually saying, otherwise I have no proof. I have someone saying that this rate's reasonable with no factual proof to justify it. So if we can get a couple of bids for the work.
Sure, Councilmember Market, I could also say that when
Okay.
when the contractor who was mowing before Councilmember Schomer, he was doing it at $100 an hour, and that rate just transferred, so it was what we were, it was a reasonable rate for what we were getting at the time, and that was 2 years ago.
Okay, and I don't, can I see that? Was it a what was it?
We can pull the invoices from that, yes.
Okay,
If I may, just momentarily interject, Councilmember Schomer looked like he wanted the attention of the presiding officer to speak. And just to be fair to him and so that everyone's on the same page, abstaining means you also don't participate in the discussion. So anytime any of you abstain, that means you're just an observer for the whole item. Sorry about that, sir.
Yep.
Well, we have a lot of work that's done by Councilman Schomer. A lot of little things that happen that get taken care of. And they provide us with a means of not having employees that do this work. I think it comes at a great savings to the city and to the taxpayers for having him doing it. My biggest concern about it is what happens when he's no longer doing it. Because, and that's why, one of the reasons why I was asking at the last meeting that we get a list of the tasks, all of the tasks that aren't contracted, because the community here thinks that we just do CSTS mowing, we plow the parking lot, we plow the streets, we do, 6 or 7 different tasks. And as long as those things are contracted out, then everything is beautiful. But there's all of these other things that get done by him that he's doing. And it's a great service to this, it's a great service to the city. And it comes at a great savings. There's, for us to contract this out, we wind up having we have mobilization costs, we have travel time, we have paying a person for a full day. That's a contracted employee from a contractor. There's a lot of things that add up, and the amount that we're actually paying out for this is pretty cheap. And so it's my suggestion that we take that as, it's a package. It's not just if we wanna look at one specific thing that's gonna cost so much per hour. It's a package that we're getting. And, fuel is definitely up, maintenance is up. I'm buying more belts than paying 45% more than I was 2 years ago. So, there's a lot of stuff that kicks into that. I urge that we just go move on, pass this unanimously, and be thankful that we're getting stuff done. Dave, any comment?
Unfortunately, perception becomes reality. And that's what my biggest fear is, right? The affidavit that I know the four of us signed was exactly what was mentioned was this was reasonably lower. So I actually don't have a problem. I just think that we need to ensure that as we look at what these tasks are, picking up I don't know, debris that can be done at a really low cost. Now, at the same point, we got to find someone that will come out and do it at a time that's probably not the most convenient. So I just think that we've got to be really cognizant of the perception this gives and ensuring that we maybe have a little bit more documentation around what would we reasonably be getting from someone else, and then we can sit under that affidavit and feel comfortable with it. So I think having some of these items listed of what we're doing would also help. Again,
Right.
it goes back to just helping the community understand because we don't need to make sure that every community resident understands everything, but we also do need to say when there's something with this, it does have a perception that looks wrong.
That's what I asked.
So, so when it comes to, however, this one item of digital, well, I don't have a problem with in the future getting quotes for next season. We're halfway, we're about ready for our next mow right now. I don't know that we're gonna be able to get quotes, figure this all out between then, and I would be really surprised at $120 an hour that, we wouldn't find anybody else that is anywhere near that. I think about 40 gallons of fuel that probably at least that went through each time, having to buy that flail mower that reaches 12 feet down into the ditch, having a 100+ horse tractor to operate that and the time to do it, pay the labor time. I think 120 is a value. That's a big value. It probably should be closer to 140, 150. To be honest with you.
I don't disagree. All I'm
Yeah.
asking
Yeah,
for
nor
is
do I.
can we just paper it and say we went out for quotes? That's all I'm saying. So driveway inspections.
Yeah.
Plowing.
Say that we did something.
Yeah.
I think we should just base the decision tonight on our perception of what the cost should be. I mean, I'm very happy with moving it to that figure. I'm fine with that.
I don't have a problem with the figure. I have a problem with we are not documenting. There's no proof other than the thing that was mentioned tonight where 2 years ago we went out and said, well, $100 back then was reasonable. Leroy does driveway inspections, plowing, ditch maintenance, tile jetting, driveway inspections, tree trimming, down trees, mowing road ditches, all those things. We don't know if $100 or $75 or 100. So there's no proof those are market-based rates. Once we get the market-based rates, I'm fine. I'm fine with it, but we have to show that we looked at it, not just, well, it seems great. I can rationalize it in my head. So it's good. So I would suggest we table this. We have the city administrator go out. And whatever Leroy does, we get quotes and then we can prove it and then we move on.
How much is it cost the city administrators?
It's not that.
Okay.
There's a statute where if we approve something and it's found that we did it, that it was illegal, we can become liable. So I do not want that. I'm only asking for, can you just go out and do some quotes? And see what comes, maybe he won't get anyone coming back. And then we're done, but at least it shows that we did something as opposed to just making a statement saying, that's a good rate. I'm not disputing the fact that I appreciate what Leroy does, okay? I just want to have it papered that the rates are reasonable. That's all I'm asking.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, just for a little context, there is an active resolution now. And so if this is continued to the next meeting, Leroy would be continuing to operate if he chooses to, under the authority he already has, the resolution in 2023. And since the vote needs to be unanimous, if any one council member is seeking to continue it, the opportunity to move the ball from the 2023 resolution to the 2025 resolution probably requires a continuance. That was 80% parliamentary procedure and 20% kind of stepping on your toes there, but
No,
there you have it.
That was my thought as well, that there's no sense in going any further discussion if we're not ready for a unanimous resolution here.
We could just cancel it and go and contract out and have all of these things taken care of.
I don't want to do that. I do
No,
not want to do
no.
that. I
So-
just want to approve the rates so that are reasonable market-based
So,
rates.
so Bill, you're making a motion to table this.
Table it, have the city administrator go out and request quotes for the things that Leroy does.
We
and I'd
just
be
do
happy-
Dish one for right now. This is only about dish one.
When do we have, what's the
We
rules
can cover
for?
the rest of the things under separate action, but let's cover dish one since that is the topic that we're working on right now.
That's the only change in the resolution.
Okay, is there, city attorney, is there a requirement to look at the rates every now and then? Or do we just assume that in 2033, the rate was $100, so now it could be 600 10 years from now? It's,
Mayor and council, I believe best practice is to revisit this annually. I don't know that that's a statutory requirement.
okay, but it's probably a good idea to do stuff like that, or every
I-
2 years.
I agree.
Okay,
Some inter, yes.
okay, yes, I make a motion, well,
Yeah, make a motion to
make a
table.
motion to table it so the city administrator can do a quick quote, whatever you call it, for mowing ditches.
I'll second.
Thank you, thank you. Gabe. Motion is second to table. Resolution 2025-2025, a resolution authorizing contract with interested officers for a period of time and to allow the city administrator to quote this with outside contractors. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Nay. Motion passes 3-1 with abstention by Councilmember Schulman.
I have a question that's not related to that, but it's related to the subject. I've multiple times for the city volunteered my time without getting paid, and I've been told not that my volunteering has never been accepted. And I'm wondering why that's the case when the council is all in favor, and I am too, of Leroy doing what he does. Is there a reason for that, city administrator? Because I've offered my time since we're short-staffed, and nothing ever happens. I offered my time with the city administrator from a year and a half ago, and nothing ever happened. Is there a reason? And I'm saying I'm working for free. Well, why is that?
Councilman Marker, thank you. I'm not opposed to it. I think we talked about, you getting me a schedule of when you might be available for.
I told you the schedule was just that 1 week that I was not available, but
So, yeah, I'm happy to accept any type of volunteer unless of course.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just allowed to do that. Reaching for the microphone. Well,
Here we go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna lose an arm, somebody is there.
No, Mayor and council, it's totally appropriate for the conversation to start between Councilmember Markert and Steve. At the end of the day, it has to be what is the council, whoever it is, what are they going to do? And then the council has to decide.
so we need
whether
a
that's
resolution. I'm the only one.
It depends on what it is. We really would need to know.
All right.
But I think that's a decision that definitely would need to be a council decision rather than a city administrator decision.
Got it. All right. Thank you.
I ask the attorney a question? Can I,
No.
can I respond to, just a little bit of what's in this?
In this, if you're referring to the item about the resolution concerning your work, no, you may not.
I can't.
You may not.
Okay.
All right,
One further thing, sorry, I'm not trying to prolong this, but wasn't there some rule that you couldn't hold two positions? And that was what, we were talking finance director and that was.
yeah,
That's related for sure to needing to know what the volunteer work would be, what its scope is and such. Certainly, I have given the opinion in the past, when the finance director position was vacant, that a sitting council member couldn't fill that position while remaining on council because those are incompatible offices is the term of art. But it doesn't mean that everything a council member might volunteer to do would be incompatible. And so we'd need to know what the it is. We need to be acceptable to city administration who's responsible for the running of the city day to day and then approved by council.
Question for you again. Can I respond to a couple of other items that were brought up, like tree trimming and, well, mostly tree trimming?
Councilmember Schomer, Leroy, I'm sorry, but
Oh,
no,
go ahead.
you just can't. The whole subject of the resolution concerning work in which you have a conflict of interest, you can't speak on the council about. That's what abstaining means.
Okay. Then we'll get her in the next round up here.
I'm sure you can find a platform to speak, but
I
just
do. I
not
have it.
while the council is constituted.
Okay. I got her right here.
staff and council member reports, legal, anything. I've said enough to administrators.
Just a reminder that 19 night is tomorrow night, or
What took my top?
It's okay.
I have nothing.
Yeah.
Zonto.
Night United is tomorrow. I have nothing.
Jomer?
I do. I got up about 6 o'clock Monday morning and 6 o'clock Tuesday morning, opening up roads. So our contractor could stay busy doing other stuff. And he got our roads open back up, I believe Wednesday night, cleaned up all the trees, so. That's the tree business.
Yeah, that storm was a
With Chris's help,
good one.
Steve's help, and the deputy was out. Letting us
Deputy-
know where
deputy was-
trees were down.
And pulling trees off the. road
Yeah,
itself.
that little poplar, you know.
That was the, we did one a couple weeks back too.
Yeah. On a Sunday
Sunday
night,
night, 8 o'clock.
that gust of wind came through and it fell across the road. A 30 inch,
Yeah, and we have to, we should thank
right there.
Paul Doles for his assistance,
All came down with the skid loader and shoved
helped
it
us
out of
out
the
with
way.
that one. After he heard the chainsaws running.
Thought there was beer there.
All right. 19 tomorrow night, so hopefully if you're having a party, let's sign up for it. That's all I've got. Sound about anything? Martha?
Question for city administrator. So the budget discussions will start at the next meeting?
Correct.
And do you need any guidance from the city council in terms of like budget assumptions, what we would like to see?
Possibly. Finance director is gone this week, and so we'll convene early next week, and then we'll just shoot out an email with any questions we have for direction.
Great, that would help out things. And if I could request that you ask the finance director whether we can get some like year-to-date financial information, something similar to what Lucas provided us for the first quarter. If we get the second quarter updated with that, that would.
Sorry, Councilmember Market, she has that finished, but she wasn't going to be here tonight, so I told her to wait until next meeting so
Great.
that she could be present if there's any questions for
Great,
those.
thank you. That's all.
Engineering.
One item, speaking of trees, our turn lane project is a little bit behind schedule because the power company crews that were relocating the new power poles had to pull off, go take care of down trees to get people's power back on. So I just want to make the council aware of that. According to the contractor schedule, they should have already been well into the earthwork by now, well, they may ask for an amendment for the substantial completion date. That's equal to the delay from the utility.
If we don't get any more storm.
And hope we don't get any worse than this.
I had a Great Fox resident that was getting questions or had to contact the power company. Were they turning power off in that subdivision, or why would they be contacting people that lived adjacent to like County Road 27, their backyards? Do you know? Like they weren't moving any
They
pipes.
were moving.
Oh, they were moving. So maybe that's the reason why they were.
Yeah, the power line used to cross at a diagonal.
Yeah.
Just south of the Broadview Drive intersection, and they moved the location of the crossing further north.
Okay, okay,
They had to get the poles out of the right of way.
Right.
okay. Thank you.
Perfect. All right.
May I make the motion to adjourn?
No. You're not. You may make a motion to go into closed.
Can I go on, closed session, please?
I'll second.
Motion by Zonto, second by Schomer to enter into a closed session pursuant to Minnesota statute section 13D-05 subdivision 3 for an attorney-client discussion that requires absolute confidentiality regarding disputed Clifton Larson Allen contract claims. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Thank you all.
I couldn't even quit today. I couldn't believe it.
You don't need me to.